Trey Nixon, he hasn't had like a highlight play, but he's been very involved, which is good. They're using him a lot. I think they see him as a slot guy. He wasn't a slot guy in college. I think they see that as his role. I've seen him run a couple of those, in and out routes that Julian Edelman ran a ton on the goal line. I think Danny Amendola, Super Bowl 49, right? I don't know that there's a guy really, and I think they're a pretty well-rounded wide receiver group, but I don't know there's a guy that you're putting
No.
consistently in that role. That might be how Nixon carves out his spot on the team. And then, if they need to move somebody, it kind of opens the door for maybe Jacoby Myers, right? I know everybody's talked about Nelson Aguilar as the guy who could get dealt. I still think that if they are dealing a wide receiver, he's a possibility. But I think that the possibility of Jacoby Myers maybe being dealt opens the door up a little more. And John, we talked a little bit about this when we were texting before the show. I don't know if you plan to get into it later, but a really interesting situation in Denver right now that I think is one to monitor for Patriots fans. Tim Patrick's going to be out for the year. He tore his ACL. He's a huge part of what they do in their passing game as wide receiver. That's a team that's in win now mode. They can't really afford to waste time after trading for Russell Wilson. That's a team that might give up a little bit more than it should to go out and get a wide receiver. And Aguilar and Myers are two guys that I think would fit there, right? So I don't know that you do that right now. Those are normally deals that get made at the end of camp. I certainly don't think you're doing it before the preseason game because you could have guys that get hurt, but you're going to
Aguilar is the
start.
type of guy you'd think might be appealing in that offense with Russell
Yeah,
Wilson. And so I understand I'm not going to say two birds with one stone there, but that's a salary and some space that you can clear up right
yeah.
then and there if you wanted to do it potentially for a future
And
asset.
the other thing you could do, they've
And you
got some
might be
depth.
okay with what you have here if Aguilar wasn't,
Right.
though he has looked better. And Belichick talked about him this morning, saying night and day sort of stuff with him in terms of what he's seeing and how he looks and feels and just being comfortable, in the system right now. He has made strides. So you would hate to sell super low here, but you're right. If they came calling and were like, yeah, we could totally use that. That's something you have to listen to.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that just becomes something to monitor now when you look at some of these groups that have the depth. And oddly enough, here we are. Patriots wide receiver group might be the deepest group on the roster right now. I think maybe up there with running back. They've got top end talent at safety, but they don't have a ton of bodies, right? Beyond those four who we think are going to start, it's Schooler and those two guys they signed the other day. This is the time of year to start looking at those things. And, who gets hurt around the league, and do the Patriots have guys that other teams might want? And can they go player for player? Can they get some sort of pick assets, whatever? That Denver situation is definitely something to monitor here moving forwards. I don't think anything would happen soon, but once you get after that second preseason game, once you get through that, it's 2 weeks from now, then you start, that kind of more so comes to the forefront. You start looking at it a little more closely.
Yeah, someone mentioned Dallas as well. I think, there's some
Sure.
teams out
Yeah.
there that absolutely could be in the mix for receivers. We keep resetting expectations, based off of whatever it is that we're seeing from these guys in terms of who do you expect to be where, and who's going to start. And I know when, maybe day 1 or 2 when we did this, Alex, you had thought it would be, Aguilar, Bourne, and Myers is kind of the three, most used guys with other people switching in and out.
Aguilar, Parker, and Myers.
I thought you said Bourne. And I
Or
thought
no,
you said Parker was coming in.
Aguilar, Parker, and Bourne were it was what I want versus what I thought. The group I wanted anyway. Whatever.
Yeah, but
Somebody
anyway,
can go back and pull it.
No, it's all good. Doubling up on a question here, Aguilar's looked pretty good. And I think that Parker is definitely going to be, I think, potentially a go-to type receiver on this team, one that they haven't really had there on the outside. I think they're going to look for him. I think they're going to let him fight for some balls. I think he's going to use that big body. We'll see there. The question is just simply Myers and whether he has that role. Are they going to use somebody else predominantly in the slot a little bit more? Are you going to put somebody else on the outside in 3 receiver sets? Can Taekwon Thornton possibly crack things and be someone who's involved? And we've talked about this a bit throughout. It's still too early to say, but just based off of what you're seeing here, do you feel arrow is pointing up for the receivers?
Yeah, I feel good about the receivers. I think we talked about this on the show yesterday, right?
Yep.
When's the last time with the Patriots that, wide receiver, they got all this talent, they got all this depth. The offensive line's a major question. I don't know about the starting alignment, and they don't have any depth behind them, right? The script's kind of flipped there. I really like where they're at wide receiver right now. Sure, they don't have that 1A guy, and that would be nice, and that should still be a pursuit moving forwards. But this group is a far cry from even just 2 years ago when it was, Demir Bird and those guys. And I don't mean always pick on Demir Bird. He's just the guy that comes up. But they have real NFL talent. I would say they're 6 deep, maybe 7 deep in terms of NFL talent at wide receiver, depending on how you classify Ty Montgomery and where
Yeah,
exactly
but
you're
the
at with
question
Trey
is,
Nixon. But
do they have 4 wide receiver 3s and 3 wide receiver 4s, or do they have
I
4
think
wide
they have
receiver 2s? And you know what I mean? Is like that's kind of what you're talking about because
So I
it
think they have one low level one in Parker. I think they have 3 high level twos in Myers, Bourne, and Aguilar. And
really.
I think, yeah. And I think Thornton, I mean, the ceiling, I don't want to say something and get like caught wrong, but the Taekwon Thornton hype train is out of control, and it should be. He has
Yeah.
been excellent. Like, if he looks in games like he does in camp, we're talking about him as the best receiver on this team, and you're talking about maybe like a mid-level one,
I know.
right? And
It's you're
I know
really
I'm
trying to pump
reaching,
the
but
brakes
John, am
on
I
it.
wrong? He's been so
No.
good.
You're really
So
trying to pump the brakes on it, but you're right. He's shown well in competitive one-on-ones, and
yeah,
his hands just look good. He just hauls everything in. It's just I do you have a drop for him yet?
no, I don't.
I don't have a
But
single drop for Thornton on anything. I'm even talking just little balls that they're running in drills. I'm just, right now everything has looked good and fluid. So yes, the hype train is definitely there. And that's the massive X factor here in terms of like,
right.
is this the year that the Patriots get? You see it happen all over the NFL where all of a sudden this rookie receiver just completely transforms an offense because they're performing in an elite level early. It's way, way, way early to say that, but I mean, we've definitely gone from possible medical red shirt into could this guy be something real in a very short period of time? So this is a guy
Yeah.
again. You are dying to see a game action, dying to see both in the competitive practices against other teams and game action. What he's able to do and if he's able to get himself open, because that would really be something.
Yeah, no, I really think he can play. Again, he's done everything he needs to do so far. We still got a long way to go, but the comp right now for what he looks like is a taller Brandon Cooks. And I'm somebody who's overrated Brandon Cooks in the past, but like we'll see. Look, maybe he comes in joint practices and Stephon Gilmore just blankets him, and we're kind
Yeah.
of not back to square one, but it's a bit of a reset. But you go off the guys that have been here, right? You go off of guys like N'Keal Harry. He's so, and you'd hope so, but he's so far ahead of where N'Keal Harry was at this point. N'Keal Harry was making some highlight catches, but he wasn't consistent, and he looked lost at times. You talk about the drops, right? How many times have we seen Taekwon maybe run a wrong route or get an assignment wrong? I can think of one, and I don't know that it was him who got it wrong. It might have been
Right.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Like he gets it, and that's what
That's
who was
exactly
it?
it. It's
What it
everything
was it
looks
was,
good. Yeah.
I know, I don't remember if it was Myers or one of the other receivers was asked about him. He was like, "Yeah, you could tell he was a little lost in the spring, but he's figured it out and he's like on the same page." That's so big for a rookie receiver. That's why we talk about, why are they overhauling this offense if it's going to give them so many problems up front? This is why. So a rookie receiver can come in year one, figure it out, and make an impact. That didn't happen in the old offense. It's a lot easier for that to happen in this offense.
And also, and I'm not not trying to drag Mr. Miami over here, Tommy Tamper, but not having Tom Brady here to break in a rookie receiver is actually a good thing because Tom didn't have time for a learning curve for some people here. And so, yes, it is probably a. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to think like a receiver might benefit from having not Tom Brady throw
Yeah,
to
I don't
him,
know. That
but
can be your take.
that was rough, man. You had a very small window of time to get in Tommy's circle of trust, and if you didn't get in there, forget about it. I'll see you next year. So Thornton. Right now, I like what we see here. A couple more questions, and we'll wrap it up. Someone asking, has Mac looked good? We've been burying the Patriots offense the whole time. Yes, I do think so. You're
Yeah.
asking if it's mainly due to pressure. There's been some pressure. There's also been some separation issues from the receivers. And as I said earlier, I do believe that a lot of the offensive failings have really not much to do with Mac Jones. Agree?
Yeah, again, I think it's issues up front. Mac Jones is done what he needs to do. I said this when we were kind of doing a season preview. Like, there's a world where Mac Jones takes that year two jump and the offense as a whole still takes a step back. I'm not saying that because we're seeing it right now, it's going to happen all season, but that's what you're seeing right now, where Mac has been better, but the pieces around him aren't elevating to that level, and it's
Oh,
causing issues overall.